Why don't we welcome our fantastic guest this week, one of the top women's flyweight contenders in the UFC. What the future? The future is now.
Just 26.
The future's now. Let's bring in Maycee Barber on the program. Maycee, welcome to Morning Kombat. Great to see you. We are itching to see you back in action. How's everything going?
I know, I can't wait. Well, first of all, you guys introed me on like the most random conversation that I got to walk into. I was like, what are they talking about?
We didn't mean it personally. I blame on the producer. He was like, just talk about anything for 5 minutes. So I talked about anything.
Oh boy, this is
that
the kind of show.
That was definitely anything. I was like, what are they introing? Wow. It's all good. Okay. But I'm excited to be back.
Let's talk about your status. We thought you were coming back in July over the summer, and you had a setback. How's everything going with your health, and when could we see you back in there?
Everything's going great now. It has been a long journey. I was so bummed when first of all, I was so excited to fight Rose, because not only was I fighting Rose, but I was also fighting in Denver where I made my UFC debut. So for me, it was my first main event. It was a very huge opportunity for me, and I was so excited. And then I was so devastated when I was told, hey, look, you're not gonna fight on this card, and you're obviously, the health is more important. So I was very devastated. But I have made a lot of progress coming forward, and I can't wait to be back.
This is great. Do you have a plan set in mind, a time frame?
Yeah, actually, I was just messaging with Mick, and Hunter called me as well. I'm hoping for April, honestly. I mean, I know it still is a little ways out, but for me, like, that's the timeline that I was given. And so originally I thought I was going to be until August of next year, but it's looking like more like April.
All right. Well, we can't wait to see you back. You're a big player in a division that suddenly, Maycee, has a ton going on for it. Big names. I feel like 3, 4, 5 women could be champion right now in terms of how stacked it is at the top. How would you assess this 125-pound division as we speak right now?
Yeah, the division has had a lot of changes, obviously. It's one of those where I am so frustrated with like wanting to be there. Like, I want to be there so bad because I know that, to be honest, like, I feel like I'm the best contender for being the champion, and I can't wait to get that shot and to have the title shot, because I feel like we've seen how Erin has matched up against, the top opponents. And I don't think that she's going to be up there. I mean, she's a great fighter, but she's not champion worthy. Manon is a great fighter as well. However, I don't think she has the champion capabilities as well. And then, we have the top. We have Alexa Grasso, who got her rematch. And then I feel like I just want to be there, like, I know for me, like, I have the most exciting fights. I have what it takes to be there, and I just want to get back there so I can have that belt.
All right, I want to go through some of these individual pieces, if I may. First things first, you were supposed to fight Rose on that July card. Obviously, it didn't work out. We hope to see you back in April. How did you think Rose looked more recently?
To be honest, when she fought Erin, I thought that was a boring fight, but I also thought that Rose won that fight. I thought that Rose won 3 of 5 rounds, and the judges obviously gave it to Erin, but I thought that was not fair to Rose, because I did think that Rose had done everything she needed to do to win that fight. So for me, I mean, I don't think that she looks as good as she has looked in the past. She used to be a really dominant champion. She used to be she still is a phenomenal fighter, but it's different now, and you can see that she's changed ever since she's been with different coaches, and there's just been a lot that's happened in her life. And I mean, she's getting older, so I just don't think she's the same fighter that she used to be. However, I do believe that she beat Erin. And that's what was tough to watch.
Let me follow up on that, because I get asked this question all the time, and folks are like, well, she is bouncing, or she has changed anyway. Bouncing is not quite a fair way to put it, but changing some of her coaching. When you're a fighter and you're looking at another fighter who has changed their coaching, and you could say, aha, this is why they fight differently, what would you point to specifically in the case of Rose that would lead you to believe that the coaching change itself is playing a big role in how she's fighting?
I mean, it really depends because there's fighters like myself who have bounced around a lot. You know, I've been known as someone who goes from gym to gym and coach to coach. And that's something that a lot of people have talked about with me. However, like with Rose, I mean, she didn't do that before. Like she had Trevor Whitman as her coach for the longest time. And I think that played a huge advantage in her career. You know, Trevor is a phenomenal coach. And from what I picked up, you know, she should have stayed with Trevor. And now that she's not with him, whatever the circumstances are, like however that came about, she's never been the same ever since.
Okay, let's talk about the top of that division for a second. I would love to get your perspective. This blew my mind. Noche UFC, Valentina Shevchenko defeats Alexa Grasso, and over the course of their rivalry, Grasso's wrestling somehow got worse. How is that possible? How did it regress to the point where Shevchenko was just able to use that as like the sole means of winning in a 5-round contest?
I mean, did Grasso's wrestling get worse, or did Valentina's get that much better? You know, like it's a tough thing to answer because I don't know. You know, you don't know what happens at other people's camps. You don't know whether injuries play a part. There's a huge thing to be said for, I mean, everyone talks about it, mentality in a fight. And the whole fight game is a mind game. So you don't know what has gone on, you know, whether she might have been training and then it would have, you know, maybe she didn't have a lot of success in her wrestling in terms of training and she didn't have as much confidence in it going into the fight. Maybe Valentina did just, you know, get that much sharper in her wrestling and there's a lot to be said for all of that. So, I mean, for me to go and say, yeah, Alexa Grasso's wrestling got worse, like we don't know what played a part in that, but I mean, I could tell you for sure, like I have seen fighters where if you don't ever find success in the gym, it's really hard for you to take that and go into a fight and be confident in it. And that's when the mentality turns into a big factor as well.
Well, Shevchenko, the all-time great, the legend, the champion, once again, it appears, although we haven't heard, that if I'm planning out her future, number 2, Manon Fiorot seems to be the most deserving of that next title shot. Do you agree? And how would you see that fight going down?
You know, I actually was talking about a fight offer against Manon, and then I was also told that she does not want to fight unless it's for the belt. So there's a lot of things that are going back and forth in that division with, you know, I do feel like as far as a fighter who has put in the fights and who has beat the people she needs to beat and put herself up there, I do believe that Manon is the best contender for that next title shot. You know, and it could be a good fight, you know, to see Valentina in her fight and then me get the winner of that and then see who I get to fight for the belt. But I do think that she, like right now as it stands, is the best next candidate for the title shot.
Well, you're currently the number 4 ranked women's flyweight. You're riding a 6-fight win streak. When you look back to the 2 losses that at the time sort of slowed your momentum when we thought you really were on pace to become the youngest UFC champion, I know that was a big goal of yours. Do you look back at those losses though as a gift? And you know, does that work in hindsight now? Did you grow extensively from that experience?
I do. You know, the things that I've learned, I mean, obviously, like the first loss that I had, to be honest, like I felt like I had one of the best camps of my life. At the time I was training at Rufus Sport and I had a great camp. I had an amazing weight cut and I was super confident going into that fight. And I remember actually talking to a few people and one of those was actually James Krause. And I was like, cause I used to ask him a lot of opinions on my fights and matchups and everything. And I asked him and he was like, you know, you win this fight 10 out of 10 times. The only time you would ever lose this fight is if you had a freak accident and you got injured and you couldn't continue. And that was maybe like an hour before the fight. And then I went out and I was like an hour before I went to the fight. Obviously I went out and I fought and I tore my ACL. And I think the things that I took away from that was I showed that no matter what, like if I get hurt, if I get obviously severely injured, like I'm going to keep going and I'm going to keep pushing, and I'm not just going to keep pushing and try to survive. I'm going to try to keep winning. Like I feel like I showed a lot of people and my coaches and my own family and like myself, like the thing that I have inside me, which is a heart. And coming off of that loss, like it was really hard to be sad about, oh, I didn't do enough. What I really took away with that and the sadness that I had was, damn it, I lost. And I know that I could have won that fight. And had circumstances been different. And also, I can't fix it for a whole nother year. Like I was looking at going into a surgery and facing a whole year layoff of like rehabbing an ACL and going through that process with that feeling of like, wow, I really want to just go out there and show like what I know I could have done. And actually when I got offered that, like I asked to go and fight her again, and she turned it down. Obviously it was her retirement fight. She wanted to win. And which actually I don't know if that worked in her favor because she fought Casey O'Neill and didn't win. But then when I fought Alexa, the thing that I took away from that was, obviously I had another loss that I had come off of, and I really learned in that camp specifically and in that fight how important the mentality is, how important it is who you have around you, who you have coaching you, who you have speaking into your life. Because again, no excuses. When I fought Alexa, like I went in there, if I go into a fight, I know I'm like, look, I'm ready to fight and I'm going to fight and I'm going to win. However, like she was better that day. But for me, I learned, the coaching that I had at the time was not the camp that I needed to be with. I was actually learning a completely different style than what I should have learned. And it was not me at all. It was someone who wanted to be more of a counter fighter, and I'm not a counter fighter. I'm a pressure fighter, and I'm known for brawls and I'm known for pushing the pace. And that's what I feel like, I showed that in the third round when I pushed the pace, and I won that third round from being myself. But I really had to get out of that other style that I had been working on and trying to like be this person that I wasn't. And I dealt a lot with like a lot of external things that I learned. You can't let outside factors come into your mentality, because if you do, it's going to cost you a lot. And I lost that fight, and that was a bitter taste in my mouth because I truly did lose that fight. And even though I won the third round, I got to learn, I need to be who I need to be for me. And when I'm not, I have a lot of success.
Well, there were some close decision wins to start the 6-fight win streak. Was there a point where you felt like you did fully get your mojo back, where you were allowed to sort of release the dog again and you felt comfortable in that dominant attack style that you performed so well?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, coming off of Alexa Grasso, like I had a different style, and I had a lot of external things that I allowed into my life and influenced my career. And then I tried to shift that. I realized in that third round I needed to shift it, and then I carried that into the next fight. And the next fight was a little bit better. Still way closer than I wanted it to be. The next fight was even just like that. It was a little bit better, but still close. And I feel like I really started to feel that, after like 2 fights after that, and then when I fought Jessica when I fought Montana, and then obviously when I fought
Hebos.
Yes, Amanda. When I fought Amanda, I felt that a lot. I was like, this is me. This is who I was meant to be. This is what God created me to do. And like, this is like the person that I am. And I like finally got to feel that again, and it felt great, and then I got to carry that on into the fight with Caitlin. And obviously, like the higher up I go in the division, the tougher the girls are going to get. And so I just want to make sure that no matter what, like I'm always going out there with the true me and the 100% Macy Barber that I have. Because I believe that when I do that, I'm unstoppable.
Let me follow up, if I can, on Erin Blanchfield. Give me, imagine we've never seen her fight before. Give me the Macy Barber scouting report.
The scouting report would be, she's a solid wrestler, and grappler, and her striking is very low level. She makes it work for her in certain fights. I would say that she does get success in certain fights with it, because she's a pressure fighter, very similar to, like, she likes to pressure, and she likes to be aggressive, which is what gets people down to the ground. And obviously that's where she has most of her success. But if you watch her, like, her striking is it's not clean. She doesn't have good defense, and against the right fighters, like, she's going to get hurt. You know, we did see that with Manon, who was a good striker. Against a good striker, Erin Blanchfield is not going to have very much success at all. And then also, you know, she's not an exciting fighter. She's not someone that you're like, oh, I have to watch this fight. You don't see a lot of brawls with her. You don't see a lot of devastating wins. You just see someone who goes out and can win sometimes, and has made it pretty far for herself because of that, you know. But she's not someone that's like, oh, this is a devastating fighter.
Okay, same exercise, but this time for Manon Fiorot.
For Manon, I would say that she's a very well-rounded fighter. Her striking is good. She's long. Her striking isn't just good. It's really good. She's done really well with it. I feel like she has more success in the stand-up and the strikes, which then, you know, you don't see a whole lot of wrestling and ground game from her, but her whole game as a whole is well-rounded. And her technique is championship level. However, I feel as though the rest of her, because being a champion isn't just about just fighting. Like, you can be a champion and just fight, and to be honest, you're a boring champion. So she doesn't have like that full well-rounded champion of a fighter. However, her fighting style is championship level.
Okay, so then if Shevchenko fights Fiorot, give me the Macy Barber prediction. How does that one look, and if you have a strong feeling about who might win?
I think Fiorot's tough. I honestly could see that going to a decision. I'm trying to think. Like, I mean, obviously we've seen that Valentina has knockout power. I don't know if we have seen Manon have knockout power. I feel like a lot of her fights have gone to decisions. And so I just think, you know, but she's also tough. Like, I don't know if she's been put away too many times either. So if someone was to catch, I think it's going to go to decision. I think Valentina's on her way out. Like, I think she's older. And she's just also not the same fighter that she used to be. She's just kind of getting a little bit old for where she's at. So I think it's going to go to the decision.
Interesting stuff right there. How's the Macy Barber brand doing right now? I see you with a lot of different sponsorships. I see you on some, you know, viral crossovers with Demi Bagby on the internet. How's life as Macy Barber these days?
It's great. You know, I'm trying to maximize and take advantage of this off time. You know, like, whenever I'm out and whenever I'm not able to fight, obviously the number one thing is I want to be back in the gym and I want to be training. When I'm not able to do that, I know that I have to be as proactive as possible, because this career is very short. And I need to build it up. So I want people to want to watch. I want people to want to pay attention. So I've tried to do everything I can to stay busy and to create lifelong partnerships that aren't just going to be with me through my fighting career, but are going to be with me through life. And through that, I have met Demi, and she has been amazing. She's helped me a lot. And she's doing great things and I'm doing great things. So for us to come together and collab has been really incredible. So yeah, I mean, honestly, Macy Barber is blessed and looking forward to the future.
All right. If illnesses, injuries, time off, all that's behind us, let's close with this. Map out a perfect 2025 for us. How does Macy Barber go from the number 4 ranking to where your goal has always been, championship level here?
The perfect path, if I was to have every fight that I would want right now, I mean, obviously I talked about having a fight with Manon. I would love to have at least one fight to come back, obviously, off my layoff. And then I want the belt. I want to have the belt by the end of 2025.
Oh, there it is. What is it? Receive.
I don't want to have the belt. I'm going to have that belt.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Macy Barber in the house. We appreciate your time so much. Best of luck getting back out there into the cage. We're looking forward to it. We're ready.
Macy.
Thank you, guys.